Right now, you feel completely stationary. You might be sitting in a chair, holding a phone, or standing in a room. In reality, you are strapped to a massive rock spinning eastward at over 1,000 miles per hour. You do not feel this incredible speed because everything around you, the oceans, the atmosphere, the buildings, and the ground itself, is moving at the exact same velocity. It is the ultimate cosmic illusion of stillness. But what if that illusion suddenly shatters? If the Earth unexpectedly hit the brakes, gravity would not simply shut off. You would not float gracefully into the vacuum of space like an astronaut in a science fiction movie. Instead, you and absolutely everything not bolted directly to the deep planetary bedrock would instantly become a supersonic projectile. What exactly happens to our human bodies, our vast oceans, and our global infrastructure if the Earth stops spinning for exactly 5 seconds? Most people assume a planetary pause would mean a quick, violent jolt. You might picture a scenario where you stumble forward, brace yourself against a wall, and then experience a few seconds of eerie silence before things magically go back to normal. That expectation could not be further from the terrifying reality. The physics of our planet dictate something infinitely more violent. Many assume the friction of a sudden stop would cause the world to instantly burst into flames, or that we would all just fly upward into orbit. Both of these are common myths. The immediate danger is not global combustion, and the danger is certainly not outer space. Earth's gravity is generated by its immense mass, not its rotation. That gravitational pull of 9.8 meters per second squared remains entirely intact. You are not going up, you are going sideways. And the deadliest part of this scenario is not actually the exact moment the Earth stops. Welcome to the first 2 seconds of the longest 5 seconds in planetary history. At T0, the Earth's solid crust abruptly halts. The planet drops from roughly 1,037 miles per hour down to 0 in a fraction of a millisecond. This is where Newton's first law of motion becomes an apocalyptic weapon. Inertia dictates that an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. Think of the Earth as a speeding vehicle. When a car crashes into a solid brick wall, the unbuckled passengers do not stop with the car. They continue moving forward at the exact speed the car was traveling just a millisecond prior. In this scenario, the Earth is the vehicle, and absolutely everything resting on its surface is an unbuckled passenger. The planet's solid crust has stopped, but the atmosphere has not. Instantly, the air transforms into a supersonic windstorm. At the equator, these winds immediately reach speeds of Mach 1.3. To put that in perspective, the strongest hurricane ever recorded on Earth barely scratched 200 miles per hour. This wind is 5 times faster than the deadliest storm in human history. It is a global scouring pad. The sheer kinetic energy of this atmospheric wall moving at 1,000 miles per hour would pulverize organic matter almost instantly. Forests would be uprooted and shredded into microscopic splinters. Man-made structures, from suburban homes to steel skyscrapers, would be sheared right off their foundations and carried eastward in a blender of concrete, glass, and topsoil. If you are standing in Ecuador, Kenya, or Indonesia, right on the equator, you are launched horizontally at supersonic speeds, instantly becoming part of a devastating debris cloud. Further north or south, in places like New York or London, the destruction is slightly slower, but no less fatal. At a mid-latitude of 45 degrees, the rotational speed is lower, but you would still be thrown sideways at roughly 733 miles per hour. The wind alone is enough to level every major human settlement on the globe in a single second. But air is ultimately incredibly light. A much heavier, entirely unstoppable force is already rushing in right behind it. We have now reached seconds 2 through 4. The atmosphere has already wiped the surface clean, but the oceans are now entering the equation. Water is a heavy, dense liquid, and just like the air, it maintains its extreme eastward momentum when the rocky crust stops. The Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Indian Oceans physically launch inland. They become horizontal, supersonic tsunamis. Normally, the Earth's rotation creates a centrifugal bulge, pulling water and land toward the equator by about 27 miles. Without the outward force of the spin, that massive volume of water would theoretically want to migrate toward the North and South poles. But 5 seconds is nowhere near enough time for global water redistribution. Instead, the immediate threat is the pure kinetic launch. Billions of gallons of ocean water slam into the eastern coasts of every continent, swallowing landmasses whole at 1,000 miles per hour. This hyper-tsunami acts as a liquid wrecking ball, crushing whatever the supersonic winds somehow manage to leave behind. Simultaneously, a nightmare is unfolding miles beneath the surface. The Earth is not solid all the way through. The stopped crust is relatively thin, floating on a massive moving liquid mantle and a molten outer core. When the outer rocky shell drops to 0 miles per hour, the internal liquid layers are still churning violently. The sudden deceleration of the crust against the moving liquid mantle creates unprecedented friction and immense structural stress. This triggers immediate catastrophic global earthquakes. We are talking about seismic events that dwarf anything on the Richter scale. Tectonic plates warp and snap. Fault lines rupture simultaneously across the globe. It is mathematically unknown how the liquid outer core would fully react to the solid crust instantly stopping. The crust could theoretically detach or slip entirely, completely destroying the Earth's magnetic dynamo. The friction alone converts kinetic energy into massive amounts of heat, enough to liquefy portions of the crust from the inside out, with the surface completely erased by supersonic winds, crushed by hyper-tsunamis, and ripped apart by crustal ruptures. Extinction seems absolutely guaranteed. Yet, surprisingly, there are 3 very specific places on Earth where a human being could theoretically survive the first 4 seconds completely unharmed. Physics offers a few geographical and spatial loopholes in this planetary apocalypse. The first safe zone is located at the absolute extremes of the globe. Because the Earth is a sphere, rotational speed decreases the further you move away from the equator. If you are standing exactly on the geometric North Pole in the Arctic, or the dead center of the South Pole in Antarctica, your rotational velocity is essentially 0 miles per hour. You are just pivoting in place. If the Earth stopped spinning, you would barely feel the kinetic impact. You would not be thrown sideways. You would not instantly turn into a supersonic projectile. You might just lose your balance as the icy ground shudders from the distant tectonic snapping. The second loophole exists high above the chaos in the sky. Commercial airliners traveling at high altitudes, perhaps cruising at 35,000 feet over the Midwest, would bypass the kinetic ground trauma entirely. The passengers inside would feel a massive atmospheric disturbance, perhaps terrifying and violent turbulence, but they would not crash into a wall of inertia. The third potential refuge is buried deep underground. People sealed within ultra-deep bedrock bunkers, like the Svalbard Global Seed Vault burrowed into an Arctic mountain, or deep military installations carved into solid granite, might survive the surface scouring. The immense bedrock shields them from the Mach 1.3 winds and the supersonic ocean waves ripping across the surface above. For a brief, agonizing moment, the survivors standing in the freezing cold of the North Pole, the passengers gripping their armrests in the sky, and the personnel huddled in deep subterranean bunkers think they have just lived through the apocalypse. They might assume the worst is over, but they are completely unaware that the 5-second countdown is about to hit 0, and the most shocking truth of this scenario is about to be revealed. The 5 seconds are up.
The Earth does not just stay stopped forever.
If the supernatural force that paused our planet suddenly releases its grip, the Earth abruptly resumes its normal rotation. It instantly goes from 0 back to 1,037 miles per hour. This is the big twist. The restart is the real killer. The sudden acceleration acts as a devastating planetary whiplash. Remember the supersonic winds and the hyper-tsunamis that were just swept violently eastward. Everything that survived the initial stop, everything currently airborne, floating or clinging to a shattered landscape, is now violently slammed with a second massive kinetic shockwave. But this time, it hits in the exact opposite relative direction. It is exactly like being in a horrific car crash, only to be rear-ended by a high-speed freight train a split second later. Those passengers in the commercial airliner who survived the first few seconds? The plane is instantly shredded by conflicting atmospheric currents moving at impossible speeds. The sky is no longer a safe zone, it is a chaotic vortex of shearing winds. There is no surviving infrastructure left to safely land a plane anyway. Those deep underground bunkers? The sudden restart jerks the tectonic plates again, turning the bedrock into a crushing vice. The structural integrity of any subterranean vault fails as the crust is subjected to immense shear force for a second time. Even the survivors at the poles would be doomed by the resulting global atmospheric chaos, the massive geomagnetic storms, and the total irreversible collapse of the global biosphere. So, what exactly is the final answer to our question? It is the immediate, absolute sterilization of the planet's surface. The initial stop acts as a global blender. The inertia weaponizes the air and the water, wiping away thousands of years of human civilization and billions of years of biological evolution in just 4 seconds. Then, the 5-second restart ensures that absolutely nothing escapes. The whiplash subjects whatever microscopic life remained to a secondary, entirely fatal kinetic trauma. It is the ultimate cosmic reset button, pressed and released in the exact amount of time it takes for you to take a deep breath. Thankfully, astrophysicists universally agree that an instant stop is entirely impossible. There is no known physical mechanism that could instantly halt the Earth's rotation without destroying the planet in the process. It would require an energy transfer roughly equivalent to a direct, head-on collision with an object the size of another planet. But there is a brilliant, hidden twist to our own reality. While an instant 5-second stop is pure science fiction, the Earth is actually hitting the brakes right now. During the Devonian period, roughly 400 million years ago, our planet spun much faster than it does today. Fossilized ancient corals prove that a single Earth year consisted of about 400 days. Back then, a day lasted only about 22 hours. Today, thanks to the constant drag of tidal friction caused by the moon's gravitational pull, our planet is steadily decelerating. The length of an Earth day is extending by about 1.8 milliseconds every single century. We are slowing down. The brakes are being applied. It is just happening so slowly, so gradually, that we will never feel the wind rushing past us or the oceans rising up to swallow the shores. The Earth will slowly drift into a longer day, taking millions of years to do exactly what a 5-second pause would accomplish in a terrifying, spectacular flash. If this actually happened, would you hide at the poles, on a plane, or in a deep bunker? Let me know your survival plan in the comments, and hit subscribe for more extreme scenarios.